Greetings to one and all, and thank you for watching the latest Gurdjieff Ponderings. I had a lot of feedback and response from it. I obviously touched a nerve with a few people. But also, thankfully, I think the Gurdjieff quotes helped a lot of people as well. As one person quite rightly said to me, a lot of their fear comes from their worries and worries about life. And I used to worry about so many things. I see how worrying used to hold me back. Until one day someone said to me, worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair. You rock all day, but you go nowhere. And it made so much sense to me. But it also made me realise when I started worrying again, I then made excuses for my worrying. Oh, I need to worry because blah, 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 blah. And it took a while for me to suddenly really understand that sitting in a rocking chair, you can rock all day, but you get nowhere, quote, suddenly made sense. The worrying all day, you're not actually doing anything. Most of the times we're worrying about things that we can't deal with until tomorrow, or we're worrying about something someone said to us, but we don't go and see that person to say, make amends about it or find out why whatever that person said to us caused that worry. A lot of our worrying, we don't go and sort it out. It's like something that holds us back. We like to worry, as Gurdjieff says. We like to hold on to our problems and our sufferings. Worrying is a suffering, isn't it? It's definitely what I would call a winding down or a winding up of one. You're winding yourself up with worry, and you're winding down all the positive work you've done with yourself. Worrying is niggling, it niggles away at things. But what do we do in cases of worry? Well, we have to trust in ourselves. And I nearly said trust the system then, but I don't want people thinking I'm talking about the lunatic asylum system. We have to trust in God. Trust is what I think is the opposite to worry, or the antidote to worry. We have to trust that what we want to do, if they, for example, the one where I used a friend as an example, you're worrying about something a friend said to you or how a relationship ended. We have to trust in ourselves when we go to make amends. But we shouldn't go and make amends in a, forthright, I'm going to fight this out with you kind of way. Slap them with your glove and take them to a duel. You need to think about not necessarily think sometimes. Sometimes we think in the wrong centre, or emotions overtake us. But this is all part of good exercise work for yourself. You observe yourself and how you're reacting to things. I'm pretty sure it's in one of the Gospels, maybe Matthew. But there is a saying about how if you have had an argument with someone in the day, you need to try and sort it out before you go to bed at night. That's quite difficult these days, and people like to hold over forever and ever. They like to hold on to their, oh, I'm so angry with you, or you've really pissed me off, or I'm really, jealous of you or something. I'm just pulling ideas out of my head here. I think I did that because I've recently been doing a talk with someone about jealousy and envy and what it is that it does to us. And how when you're younger and teenage years, I used to hang out with a group of girls and we used to wish well of our friends, obviously, and wish well to our close buddies. But when the people that weren't in our little clique were beginning to be successful, we'd hate them for it and wish them ill will. How awful, hey? But, that's teenage angst. But I know adults that continue to still do that. And I've been caught up in groups still that, you can see that someone's a bit jealous of someone having success. Instead of, we should be wishing people well in their projects and on their journey, on their path in life. And obviously there's people who would often ill will us. There are people that don't want us to succeed, and we have to protect ourselves from that. I myself have met a lot of people who come across insincere, but I've suddenly realised that they're quite insincere. I know that people mean well, but to be honest, it really pisses me off, their insincere sincerity. I get quite tired of that. I never know what to say to people when they say things to me that are often quite off-putting, but it's because I think they're trying to get to know me better. I've often had people say to me when they're trying to get to know me, "Oh, you look tired," because they're hoping that I will then turn round and say, "Oh, yes, I am," and give them all my problems, because people feel secure if they know your insecurities. So I've learned to say, when people say I look tired, turn around and say, "Thank you." I've always had tired face. Or if there's someone that's kind of pissing me off, "I think that you are projecting." But it is interesting how people try to get to know one by being insincere or putting forward insincere thoughts to try and get you to, well, they try to see your weaknesses, don't they? As Gurdjieff used to like to step on people's corns, I see other people in the Gurdjieff work trying to do that to other people in the Gurdjieff work, because they think they're copying Gurdjieff and helping us to discover our, our problems and our insecurities and such like. But they're not Gurdjieff. We shouldn't be stepping on each other's corns. We should be trying to help each other and trying to elevate each other to continue to do the work. We are not Mr. Gurdjieff ourselves. We are not man number whatever one you think he was. And he was definitely of a higher form than we are. So he knew whose corns to tread on. We don't, and we can't just go around treading on everyone's corns, because some people would have a very bad reaction to it. Some people know how to act towards it and can come back with a retaliation that will knock you off your feet. But yes, we should be being more supportive with each other and helping each other to go forward in the Gurdjieff work, so that we can trust each other, which is, again, one of the very important parts of the Gurdjieff work. Gurdjieff calls trust as part of one of the sacred processes, and we should be able to work together so that we can trust another like ourselves. I think he says trust another like yourself. So you need to be able to trust yourself, to know yourself, to then be able to understand and trust other people. A feeling of trust, again, brings a kind of security amongst each other, and respect as well. Respect is very important, but not the sort of respect where people are put on pedestals. That I notice a lot in the Gurdjieff groups and such like as well. People like to put people on pedestals. There are people that obviously are ahead of us on the ladder, and there are people below us. But those going up the ladder, we should always have someone in front of us, someone behind us, someone to help pull us up, whilst we're also helping pull other people up. And to do that, we need trust. In the book All and Everything, in the Bukharin Dervish chapter, Gurdjieff says a little bit about respect and trust. I'm just going to read a bit from there. Thanks to the inherent need in their presences to destroy the existence of other beings breeding on their planet, they at such moments contrive with their whole being how to destroy the existence of these beings of other forms. And as a result of all this, from the radiations issuing from these favourites of yours, inherent in their peculiar presences, there are gradually formed in the common presences of these other beings of the aforementioned forms, side by side with the data which should exist in them for engendering the aforementioned impulse of instinctively showing respect and sympathy to every form of being, other data with a special functioning, thanks to which the feeling of cowardice appearing in the common presences of other beings, chiefly in the presences of your favourites, is perceived as a menace to themselves. That is why, whenever these other mentioned one-brained and two-brained terrestrial beings meet with your favourites, they, wishing to escape the danger to their own existence, always strive to destroy the existence of these favourites of yours. End quote. And I think sometimes people who are, well, even people in the Gurdjieff work, I suppose I should add, there are people out to destroy other people's way of being. And as I was saying earlier about when I was a teenager being in cliques and you had ill wishes towards the other girls or who weren't part of your clique and things like that. In a way, that is destroying their existence. We think, oh, they don't know, we're bad mouthing them or being two-faced to them, but people do know. They can feel it, they can sense it. And sometimes as a teenager you did make it obvious that you didn't like that person, but we should be growing out of that, and we're adults now and should be considering that that is a human being whose eyes we are setting upon, or a human being that we are being horrible about. There are menaces in society. There are people that come to stir the waters and such like. We have to be able to understand, well, why are they doing that? I'm not saying, well, yeah, it is a way of having sympathy for them. Sympathy and antipathy is very important. We need to have the balance between the two of them. Why do people act or react in the way they do? Why do you act or react in the way you do? And a lot of people are on edge because they are worrying. They're worrying about how to get the money for the next bill. Have they got enough money for the rent? Worrying about, perhaps some medical diagnosis. And on we go continuously. It's like the whole lunatic asylum we're in is here to make us worry, that then leads to fear. And as I say, I feel like the antidote is trust. Trust in God, trust in yourself. Trust that you can get through this. And I think when people fall in line with the lunatic asylum, when you give in, that's when things do start going a bit awry. Because you're caught up in all that mechanicality when we're trying to be part of the harmonious, ongoing development of the divine. We want to be part of the harmony of reciprocal maintenance of the all cosmic concentrations, of helping the universe evolve and continue. We want to be upright and steadfast in our morality and our mortality, but we want to be upright and steadfast in what we're doing, yet at the same time not come across as pompous or I know better than thou kind of attitude. We have to practice the traits of gratitude and forgiveness. We should be thankful for what we have got and forgive those people, incidences, ourselves for where we've gone kind of wrong in our lives, in our path. And I've recently been asking people when I have met them for one-to-ones, are you seeking enlightenment to escape this lunatic asylum? Or are you seeking enlightenment to rejoin with the divine? What exactly is it that you are looking for in being a truth seeker? I also know for a fact that many people are worrying about things that they've heard or seen on a lot of alternative channels and news. And I don't mean alternative channels for me, I mean like the alternative rather than mainstream. I'm meeting a lot of people who are definitely doom scrolling and watching the fear porn far too much, and that causes a lot of worry. They're not using their discernment to attune to what is true and to what is fake. Now I sound like the fake news person. We must not have fake news, but if we can learn to balance ourselves, to harmonize our centers, we can then discern the difference between truth and fake news. I used to worry quite a lot about some of the people back to worrying. Well, I did, a genuine concern of worry for people who went down some very strange and dark rabbit holes into the conspiracy world. Sometimes they start off sounding quite sensible, but by the end of the conversation, their promise has definitely turned to woo-woo. And I used to wonder, are these balanced people? And if they have gone down these tunnels, these rabbit holes, what was it that led them to it? Was it something that happened in their lives, or is they just not happy in the lunatic asylum? Why do they sometimes sound like whack jobs, yet they seem so sincere people, because they really want to know what's really going on, as I did. You know, I went down some dark rabbit holes when I was coming furthermore into the conspiracy stuff. I'd always been a truth seeker since a child, but more for the divine. But I know in my late 20s and early 30s, I met a lot of people that I would say were more on the conspiracy side, that I went down some strange rabbit holes. You know, the reptilian kind of ideas and this earth's flat kind of thing and such like. We have to use our discernment to decide what we believe in or don't believe in. You know, as I said before, they seem so knowledgeable about the subject that they're talking about, even though sometimes I think it's a jumble of other traditions and philosophies and other people's woo-woo thrown in. But what if they're right? What if they have got the truth? Then, you know, wag fingers at me. I have my own opinions of what the universe is about and who's in control of what. I'm not going to say them here because then it just turns into a bit of a debate. But for me, the most important thing is developing myself so that I can reunite with the divine. Because the divine is always reaching down towards us. We need to reach up to make that connection. And are we reaching up? So this was just a little show that I just wanted to say, because I was, you know, it's nice to have so many replies to that show I put up. But you're right. A lot of the time people are worrying about, obviously, their jobs, their futures, their money and such like. And I do understand that leads to a lot of fear. And I kind of neglected that in that show I done. As many of you might realise, I do sort of just speak off the cuff. I might have come across a Gurdjieff quote and think I want to make that into a show. So sometimes I don't fully think out my philosophies. I'm just putting forward ideas and thoughts that have come to me from reading Gurdjieff. And I'd like to remind you that Gurdjieff's work was all about the arousing of thought. You know, it's the first chapter in his book, Beelzebub's Tale. It's making us think in a different way, not in a materialistic, mechanical way, but hopefully in a higher way, so that we're learning to connect with our higher thoughts. You know, it's all part of the quality of the functioning of our thinking and our feeling and our organic centers or our moving centers. Are they all working as an automatism, as a robot, or have we broken past that so that we've got real thinking, real feeling, and real thought? What have I done there? Real thinking, real feeling, and real being. Mentation by thought, that's a very important thing. That's something Gurdjieff talks a lot about. Gurdjieff says that we should actively mentate about such essence questions. Mentations. Beings who can mentate, that is, beings similar, you know, to the people that the higher beings. We should be mentating or thinking actively and impartially. Again, another very important part of the Gurdjieff work. And I've just found the quote here about mentation. This is from Gurdjieff. The active mentation in a being and the useful results of such active mentation are, in reality, actualized exclusively only with the equal degree functionings of all his three localizations of the results spiritualized in his presence, called thinking center, feeling center, and moving motor center. So I think I'll leave it there. That's my thoughts for the day. And I need to mentate more on how I do these shows. I enjoy your comments and your emails and responses, and love and peace to one and all. Till next time. Thank you for watching.